Hello and welcome to the JR's Gaming Podcast, where we talk about the rise of Nintendo and what this great gaming franchise has in store for us in the future of gaming, and of course, the country from which it was born, Japan. I'm your host, Julia Terry, and today I'm joined by me, myself, and I once again. It is just a solo episode today, guys, from just me. This is very interesting. It's like, because I'm used to just being like, how are you doing, Ryan? I'm used to asking the co-host how he's doing, whoever's doing the show with me. But no, I'm just alone, like I've always been in life. Just alone and sad, with no friends. Just, yeah, alone. But anyway, yeah, it's just me today, guys, because unfortunately, I had an appointment today, and then when Ryan was free to record the podcast, then he was doing something else, and our schedules kind of collided. So we can't. He's a very busy man, and so am I. So unfortunately, our schedules just didn't work out for today. So it's just going to be me doing the podcast today. And I would usually get on another of our members to do the podcast with me, but they're also busy. Eli's busy, so yeah, it's just me. But anyway, how are you guys all doing? I hope you're doing very well. My week was good, I think. My week was very good. Today, or this week, I actually signed up for a free trial for Nintendo membership online. I've never actually used Nintendo membership online because I've only kind of got my Nintendo Switch this summer. But yeah, I used the membership online for the free trial, which you guys can get today. I'd recommend it. So I thought I would tell you what I think of the free trial for a little opener to this podcast. So yeah, I've been it's good. The thing is, it's not exactly a free trial. It doesn't kind of show you everything that's available to someone with a membership, because the membership has perks, right? And you have with the perks, you can get like different characters as to be your like profile picture. You can get free games and exclusive offers. They don't let you have any of that, which really annoyed me. I was like, I was thinking of just getting away with it and just getting all the perks for like 7 days. You know, just a bit like Discord Nitro, where you can get a free trial for a month and you can use all the perks. I'm pretty sure. I think anyway, with Discord Nitro free trial. But with Nintendo membership online, it literally does not give you any perks at all. It only lets you play online on Nintendo games, which is okay, because that is kind of the meat of the bones of the whole point of the membership online, really, isn't it? Is to play with your friends, but you have to pay, which is a bloody rip off from Nintendo. Really, they shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, it was good. It was great. I would say, because I've actually not got much Nintendo games. I've only got three. I just realised I've only got like 2 bought Nintendo games. I need to really stock up my collection. I really do. I've got Animal Crossing New Horizons and Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. They're my only 2 Nintendo games I've got. And then I've got No Man's Sky, which is a cross-platform game. But for the Switch, by the way, if you're playing No Man's Sky like I do on the Switch, you can't play with other players. That's just restricted for the Switch, which is really annoying. Very annoying. But yeah, as I was saying, I got this free membership thing from Nintendo. The free trial that you get only once for 7 days. It's 7-day free trial. I'm on my 2nd day now, or is it 3rd? I think it's the 3rd, actually. Yeah, I'm on my 3rd day, and it was very good, because I actually used it to play online with Animal Crossing. And This is my. I was going to talk about this. My views on the Animal Crossing New Horizons online play option. It's very fun when you're playing with other players, but it's not as good as New Leaf's option. Because back with those who, for those of you who've not played Animal Crossing New Leaf, it was the game before New Horizons on the 3DS, and that had like a hub that you would go to called Captain's Island. And like I remember those good old days back in like 2017, 2016. I would hop on the internet for free. By the way, the 3DS was free internet. You could go to the little Captain's Island. You'd meet up with the players. You'd all play together. You could like exchange friend codes, make friends on New Leaf very easily. And basically, the hub was it was like Captain's Island was a hub where you went to meet new players. New Horizons just does not have a hub at all. Like, you cannot. There is actually no way for you to see other players unless you join the Discord server for Animal Crossing, which I did, because they've kind of saved the day there with a makeshift hub where it's called Island Hangouts. It's one of the channels. Like, I think it's over like 20,000 or 30,000, if not more, members in this Discord server. It's massive. It's like the official Discord server for Animal Crossing. And in the server, there's this little channel there called Island Hangouts where you can put your dodo code, because you get a dodo code when you open your island up, and you can invite other players, and that's the way that you meet other players. So yeah, a bit annoying, I guess. It's a bit long because I think there was a time, I think yesterday, I was wanting to play with some people online. So I went to the Discord server. I typed in, "Is anyone free to play?" and just no one replied. It was just a dead. So I was waiting for like a good 20 minutes till someone popped onto the channel and was like, "Oh yeah, I'm free." So it's a bit annoying because like New Leaf would set you up straight away with someone to play with. New Horizons, you've got to go to the Discord server, otherwise you're kind of doomed. Really, unless you play with the other friends that have New Horizons. But in terms of meeting new people, it's pretty hard on New Horizons. But with that wall kind of out the way with the Discord server, I was very, very happy this week to play with lots of other players. I was playing with loads of people. I invited them around my island. We were doing trades, we were doing exploration. It was very fun, actually. It was still great time. So 100%, I would recommend New Horizons online. The membership does make up for that, and I've been using my 3-day trial. And I've decided that I'm going to be getting the Nintendo membership year, the 12 months. You can pay 17, I think, about £17 in the UK. So £17 for 12 months, which is really good. Really good, I think. Yeah, it would be good if we didn't even have to pay at all, but so be it. We have to accept that. Nintendo have decided that. But yeah, it's £17 in the UK, which is very affordable, really. If you're a gamer with free money lying about, 12 months, that's 17 quid is not that bad. But if you want to get like some of the biggest exclusive offers, like you can get money off of the Nintendo 64 controller, like there's some little perks here and there like that. You have to pay £36, which is not negotiable with me. I'm not paying that much bloody money, no way. But yeah, I thought I'd just talk about that. Really, this week has been very uneventful. I've just been, again, not much going on for me. Just just the Switch. I thought I'd get this free membership for a 7-day free trial, and it's okay. It's not exactly a trial really, because it's meant to be a trial. It's meant to give you like an idea of what you're going to get if you pay, and it didn't really. It just kind of gives you the option to play online. That's it. They don't give you any perks, which is understandable, I guess. But yeah, this week I've just been doing that, and it's been very fun. That's all I've been doing. My life is not very eventful right now. Therefore, I think without further ado, we should hop on to the news of the week. Of course, Rowan has actually chosen the news of the week, so we're going into this new. I'm very excited to see what we've got here in the news. Now, I'm going to take a swig of my coffee, then we'll carry on. I love good coffee. Instant coffee. Unhealthy but delicious. Okay, so Nintendo news of the week. What has been going down this week? Story number 1. It says, The Simpsons meets Mario Kart in a bizarre TV mashup. That sounds very interesting. Never did I think I'd be talking about The Simpsons and Nintendo in one word, but in one sentence, so we'll have to see what's going on here. The Simpsons is somehow still a thing in 2024, regardless of what we think. It's still overall quality. However, there's no denying that the cartoon is able to pull off some truly weird and wacky crossovers. While presumably not an official crossover by any means, the show has recently strayed into the realm of Mario Kart, with a bizarre dream sequence in which Lisa, Homer, Milhouse, and more partake in a race on what appears to take on the racing franchise's Rainbow Road. Oh god, I hate that course. Rainbow Road should go to hell. Thanks, Eurogamer. The characters are even dressed to resemble those from Mario Kart, with Lisa donning an instantly recognisable cap. Guessing it's like the Super Mario cap. Nelson sporting a spiny shell, and Ralph Wiggum rocking a giant mushroom hat. Very droll. That is very interesting. That's definitely intrigued me at the most. The Simpsons have finally given a shout out to the well-loved game by many, Mario Kart. That is very, very interesting, and it says here, so it's a recent show because it's one of the episodes in 2024. I never really got into The Simpsons. I don't know about you guys, but I never really got into it. I think when I was a kid, I watched some Simpsons. It was all right, you know. I know it's very much a conspiracy theory of a show. I've been on TikTok long enough to know that there's loads and loads of TikToks going around like, oh, they've predicted the future, and it's all very in your face. The Simpsons know everything. It's always intrigued me. I've got to say that The Simpsons is just like a very famous cartoon series that's like kind of never stopped. It's just constantly going on with some very recognisable and lovable characters. And it's just funny to think that they've predicted a lot of things. Like, this is kind of a different topic to Nintendo now. They've predicted things like coronavirus, Donald Trump being president. They predicted all this stuff, and it is quite interesting. Like, I have no answers for how the heck they did that. And now their recent episodes, I think, was like, oh, alien invasion. And I'm like, oh shit, that I don't want to know. If they predicted everything else, now they're saying, oh, aliens coming. Hopefully not. Hopefully aliens do not come. But yeah, very interesting, Simpsons. I'm not really that into them, but this is now slipped into the Nintendo news because Simpsons have now given out Mario Kart. I don't know what to say about this, really. It's kind of funny. It's kind of cool. It's a nice little Easter egg into the Nintendo games, really. If you're a Simpsons fan and you're a Mario Kart fan, I guess that's quite a nice little thing to look at. You know, you're just watching a Simpsons episode and it's like, ooh, Mario Kart. So, oh, that's interesting. It's just very nice. I like it when like, I don't know, maybe a movie or something you're watching has a reference to your favourite game or favourite pastime memory from like your childhood or something you like. Like, I think that's just quite a nice thing to do, really, to see a crossover. So if you're a fan of Simpsons, listening to this, and you're a fan of Mario Kart, I guess this would be quite a blissful time for you to see Mario Kart and Simpsons just cross over like this. Very interesting, though. I mean, I'm not surprised because Mario Kart is possibly one of the biggest family-orientated and fun social games there is out there right now. Like, I'm pretty sure every next person and your next door neighbour and your mum knows what Mario Kart is. So it's like, it's no surprise to me that Simpsons have included it in their episode. But that is a very nice thing. I don't think they've, for obvious reasons, they've not been directly quoting of Mario Kart. They've not been like Super Mario himself has appeared. They've just kind of... I like how they've been very careful with kind of marketing this Mario Kart scene in one of the episodes, because of course it's not licensed by Nintendo in any way. As the news article just said, it's not Nintendo based, so Nintendo didn't give them permission, so therefore they've had to be very careful. They've not directly said this is Mario Kart. It's just like a scene where they've added in similarities that will make you recognise that it's Mario Kart, like the cap that she's wearing, the spiny shell. I can see why. I am interested, though, to think, would Nintendo do a crossover with The Simpsons? And if I'm being... have they already done that? I'm not sure. They may have. Something's telling me I've seen something in the eShop that's been Simpson-y. Yeah. I don't know. I think... I'm wondering if Nintendo would ever do a crossover, because Simpsons is massive. My uncle, actually, who is... I think he works for Universal Studios, and he helps out with Marvel stuff. So he writes books for Marvel, he writes scores of music for movies and stuff. Very, very jealous of him. He's got a great job out there, and he lives in LA, Los Angeles. He did some work with The Simpsons as a company once. I think I remember him telling me, I think this is quite a few years ago, he did some Simpsons work, which was really cool. I remember my uncle's into The Simpsons, so... Simpsons. I find it so hard to say Simpsons. My dyslexia is killing me every single fucking second. But yeah, it is that I remember my uncle did this. So my uncle worked with Simpsons for a bit. So that's my only sort of thing I know. Like I never got into it again. But this is very interesting. Like, I like it. I like how Mario Kart is gracing even The Simpsons. It's a very big game. Out of interest, I would love to know how much money Mario Kart alone has brought in to Nintendo. Let's just forget the current Mario Kart game out there, 8 Deluxe. Let's talk about every single Mario Kart game that exists. Like, we're talking Game Boy, Mario Kart DS, Mario Kart Wii, like all of them combined. How much money? It's got to be over $1 billion, like, at least, just gracing over $1 billion. Because Mario Kart is just so massive. I've got to know now. I'll probably come back to the next episode with an answer to how much money Mario Kart has made. But yeah, I think that's very, very nice that they've crossed over there. Nothing much else to say. Now, before we move on to story number 2, I must take another drink from my coffee. It's funny because usually I would let Ryan do some talking, then I would drink my coffee, but now it's just me. It's kind of like an awkward silence while I drink my coffee. There's no one else to fill the silence. So if you would excuse me while I take another drink of my coffee. That was a rather long pause. Sorry about that. I just finished off the entire mug. That was a very nice coffee. But now, story number 2 this week in the Nintendo news. We have 80s, very retro story coming up here. And the title reads, Rare 80s Super Mario figures have been preserved by 3D scanning. Very interesting. I love a bit of retro stuff, so let's dive straight in. The article says they're back at it again with another set of awesome figures from Bandai. I'm guessing it's Bandai Namco. That would have otherwise remained lost in relentless passage of time. This time around, we're looking at a complete set of Keshi rubber figures from the Bandai based on the Super Mario Bros. Franchise. These things are about as rare as they come, but thanks to Keshi Corner, they have now been preserved via 3D scanning and can be accessed via the Internet Archive. Originally released in 1986, these figures are among the earliest Super Mario merchandise, having launched just 1 year after the debut of Super Mario Bros. From the Famicom in Japan. In addition to the figures, an original Gachapon mount has also been scanned and preserved. These essentially acts as an advertisement for the figures themselves. So, for all the retro fans out there who love their good old items, as I do myself, this is a very good scoop of news. We have found possibly the earliest of the models of Nintendo merchandise for Super Mario. So Super Mario came out in 1985. That was when Super Mario released as a game franchise, as a game series. It was first released. I think when it released, I think within the first year it started selling really well before it, I think, hit overseas sales. Because I've got the Super Mario Encyclopedia, which is actually on my shelf behind me for the video listeners. It's very visible in my camera shot. I was reading up about it, and I think Super Mario didn't take off properly until the first Super Mario Bros. Game was properly released. Like the first ever platform 2D jumping game. Because Super Mario was actually under a different name, I think, when he was first ever created. Because he was actually in a Donkey Kong game. That was, I think, the first ever appearance Mario had. And you had to save Peach from Donkey Kong by going up these little ledges, and that was the first ever Super Mario thing. And then they kind of, I think, Miyamoto, the creator of Mario, and the other guy that created Mario, there was 2 people involved with creating Mario. I forgot his other name. I had his name there in my mind, but I forgot now. Another Japanese dude. They basically. Shortly after that appearance with Mario and Donkey Kong, they created the first ever Super Mario game that, of course, that took off. That just got really... It was very catchy. And it's just very interesting to think, all the way back then, it's just lost in time, how long ago that is. We've now had over 35 to almost 40 years of Mario coming up now. Super Mario's been around for almost, in a few years, 40 years, and that is insane. And I think Super Mario has paved the childhood of decades of generations, including mine. It's just amazing to think it all started in 1985. Before that, no one knew what Mario was. And so, just a year after, because due to the excess of Super Mario, they've obviously come out with these figures. And just like most things, as they get older, some things get lost in time, as have a lot of things with big companies. There's a lot of merchandise, I think, out there that someone probably has stuffed down their sofa. Like someone's grandma definitely has a Bowser from like 1985 or something that's just stuffed up in the loft or just down the sofa that no one knows about, and they're like, "Oh, look at this! Look what I found!" And they're about to throw it in the bin, and then the grandson sees it, and he's like, "No, that is very important. That is a retro figure." I can imagine it happening right now, just like because if you think about it, the original. I'm trying to think about these figures that have been discovered. They've had to be like preserved. They use the word preservation, like preserved with 3D scanning, and they're probably going to get put in the Nintendo Museum or something because, you know, I'm interested to see who found them. Like, I really am starting to think of this theory where the person that discovered these items, they were definitely in a grandma's biscuit tin, like just stuffed down the side of an old sofa in a biscuit tin, and there's a grandma and her grandson's cleaning out the room, and she's like, "Bro, at least stupid Mario figures," and they're like, "No, that's very retro. We need to report this." So I am very interested. How did they find these figures? It doesn't say. It just says we're looking at a complete set of Keshi rubber figures. It's just really interesting to think that these are like unheard of to be on sale anymore. Like there's no way these are being sold anymore. These are like the very first of ever Super Mario merchandise, and it's kind of been lost in time, as it said here. Like there's been so many other merchandise of Super Mario been released and spin-offs and other stuff that these sort of things are going to get lost, especially when it's that old. This is very old, actually. So I wonder how much they're going to sell for. I don't think they're going to sell them, though. It doesn't really talk about them being sold. It just says they are accessible to look at via Internet Archive. And the Nintendo Museum has been announced that is going to be opening, I think, this year. It may have already opened, I don't know. The Nintendo Museum, the very first Nintendo museum based in Japan. I think it's Osaka or Kyushu. I forgot whereabouts, what district it's actually opening in. But the Nintendo Museum, I think this is going to go there. I think these figures are going to go there. This would contribute greatly to the what's it called, exhibition, I think. If they have an exhibition and like talking about how Super Mario started and how it went from there, I think these Super Mario figures that have been discovered would be really, really cool in the museum, if I'm being honest, rather than in someone's biscuit tin, which they probably are right now. But yeah, this is a really cool find, and it generally is a really sick piece of news. Because I always love it when this happens, when we discover a piece of nostalgia, a piece of the past. And while I say piece of the past, I'm going to turn my lamp on because it's getting dark in the room. Whoa! That is bright, God almighty. Yeah, I definitely need to get a proper ring light. But yeah, anyway, I'm a massive fan of retro myself. I love a good retro game. I've always loved the old Super Mario games. And this is just... I mean, for a lot of people, like, I'm imagining you're a kid that grew up in the 80s. And I think if someone's born in the 80s, they'll be in their 40s, 30s now. If you see these figures, it's probably going to be, like, I'm guessing to at least some people, there's going to be some recognition there. So someone's going to be like, oh, I remember seeing them in a shop. It's like a piece of nostalgia that's been unlocked. And nostalgia is a very big thing. Like, I think nostalgia is not important to people. I'm kind of going on a rant now, but yeah, nostalgia is not really recognised until you start to get old. I've noticed that. And I'm not by any means old, I don't think. Even though I feel old. Even though I'll say I'm old and people say, no, you're young. I am 19 years old this year. And it's shockingly scary. Like, I didn't want time to go this fast. Like, when you're a kid, I think, when you're a kid, you start to wish time away quite quickly. I remember when I was 12, 13, I was like, I want to be an adult now. I want to have all the stuff. I want to have all the responsibilities of an adult. And now, mate, I'm 19, going on 20 next year. I'm like, I actually want to go back to those days when I was a kid, because it's like the adult life is it looks very glamorized. It's very glamorizing when we're little, and when you're actually on the way to an adult. Like, I'm now, this year is my last year of teenhood, and it's like, if there's anything life's taught me, it's like, really do take life slow, take every day as it comes, because I think I think it's only been like this year and last year I've really started to reminisce. Like I've looked back on my life and been like, those were some golden moments back in those days. This is nostalgia. Like I feel nostalgic now. I've never felt nostalgic before, really, until now. Like now I'm leaving my teenhood. I'm going into adult years now. I think I think a lot of other people probably can relate to me. They start to feel nostalgic around this sort of time, 17, 18, 19 years old. When you're leaving your teen years behind you, when you're becoming an adult, you start to really look at things. And like, I look at things and I'm like, wow, where did time go? Like, there's many things that aren't around anymore that were around when I was a kid. Like, there's products, there's TV shows that have just stopped, that have been discontinued, and it's just like you feel very nostalgic about it when you look at it, and you're like, oh, like when you're scrolling on the internet and I don't know, something will come up with a piece of your past in it. You're like, oh, and you have that tingly feeling of that was nostalgic. And so I'm guessing, yeah, I mean, that was a small little rant, I guess, about nostalgia. But this has got to be a piece of nostalgia for some. Not myself. I was not born in the 80s. I'm born in 2005, 2000s gang, guys. So I would not relate. But I'm guessing this is very nostalgic. And I love a good retro piece of art, a good retro piece of culture or item. I'm kind of speaking out my arse, trying to sound cool. But yeah, all jokes aside, this is really, really cool. And I think this should go in the museum. What do you guys think? I think this should go in the Nintendo Museum. Yeah, that's all I've got to say, really. I like how it's been scanned. It's been scanned to be preserved by 3D scanning. I don't know what 3D scanning is. I know what 3D printing is. And I sound quite dumb, but I'll need to probably do some research after this podcast episode and be like, what on earth is 3D scanning? Because I don't know. But anyway, last but not least, but possibly the biggest news story, guys. I thought I'd take this opportunity to talk about the big elephant in the room. And I'm sure most listeners who are listening in right now are like, why have you not talked about it? But here I am talking about it right now. The Pokémon Direct. The Pokémon Direct was released recently, or I think a few days ago, on the 29th of February. It was Pokémon Day, and that was probably, I think it was either the 29th or the 27th, actually. It was Pokémon Day, and the Pokémon Direct was released, and they gave us an update on all the new things coming out to do with Pokémon, celebrating so many years with Pokémon. But anyway, some big announcements were announced in Pokémon Direct, and by the way, this is a spoiler. Now, a spoiler warning for all of you. If you've not yet watched the Pokémon Direct and you don't want me to spoil what's in the Direct, I suggest you pause the episode right now, go and watch the Pokémon Direct, then come back and listen to what I'm about to say. Because I'm about to say possibly the biggest spoiler and the biggest thing that was announced in the Pokémon Direct. And yes, it's about Pokemon Legends Z-A, I think that's how you say it. And it's apparently set entirely within Luminous City, or Lumo City, if you want to pronounce it. I've got a lot to say on this, but first, I thought before we dive into that massive drop that Pokemon released on us, the whole new game, the new Legends game that's coming out in 2025, I thought we'd talk about the Pokemon Direct as a whole, because I'm a massive Pokemon fan myself, and I'm sure most of you listening are. There are some really interesting things, updates, let's just say, in that Direct. Of course, we had, let me break down for you, we had the first, I think, update was an update for, I can't remember all of it off the top of my mind, I can remember the big ones. Of course, there was one coming out about, I think Pokemon Unite had an update. They got Pokemon Cafe had smaller updates. But one of the, I think, second to biggest announcements within that Pokemon Direct, and I would say go and watch it yourself for everything, because I'm not going to break down everything, but I'm going to talk about what I think, was the Pokemon mobile game. There is a new Pokemon mobile game gracing the store this year. Releasing this year, the new Pokemon mobile game. We've had Pokemon Go, but now we have Pokemon Cards, whatever it's called. We've got this Pokemon card game now. Of course, Pokemon is a massive franchise, and I think for a lot of us, the card game was a massive also part of the card game is literally 50% of Pokemon. Like, if you're not playing the video game, you're probably on the cards playing the card game. And it was in my school, it was a massive thing. I remember that phase where we would collect and trade and fight. It's just a really fun game in all. But it's now all available online. We're going online with the cards, which is going to be I was actually speaking to Eli about this, and when I first spoke to him about it, he was saying it's very interesting because it's now going to be a good competitor to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't think I've talked that much about Yu-Gi-Oh! On the show, but Yu-Gi-Oh! is a massive franchise of strategic card gaming, and I think most of my mates are into it. I got into it. I've got Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards on the shelf behind me. They're not visible, but they're on the display shelf behind me. I did get into Yu-Gi-Oh! For a bit. I collected. I learned how to play it. It's very fun, and I think if I had the right amount of time on my hands and money, I would also be a Yu-Gi-Oh! Investor, because I have friends that are literally just invested in Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the thing for them. Like, you know, if someone's not out there spending all their money on drink and drugs, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon, these are wholesome hobbies, right? And most of my mates do that. They invest. Their hobby is Yu-Gi-Oh! So all their savings, all their money, it goes towards Yu-Gi-Oh! They're always going to save up for a new deck. Like, one of my good mates, he actually goes to tournaments like every weekend. Like, he's always going up and down the country, Nottingham, Manchester, you name it, London. He's going to all these events that are hosting Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments, and he plays against other people and wins prizes like money and food tickets, and I'm like, wow. And he like invests hundreds, if almost £1,000 into his Yu-Gi-Oh! Sets, and I'm like, wow, man, I wouldn't do that. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a massive thing, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Is also playable online. That was my original point. It's playable online as well as in physical card form, and Pokemon has never done that. Pokemon has never really had an online game. It's always been it's never had an official card online version of itself. It's always been in the flesh, in the cards, if that makes sense. But now Pokemon are moving to online. Their actual card game is now going to be available on mobile, and they may, of course, I think in the future probably make that game available on things like Xbox, PlayStation and Switch, because like Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Master, which is I think the biggest, which is the Yu-Gi-Oh! Online, which we will play, that I think first came out on mobile, and then it came out onto other platforms like the Xbox, Switch, blah blah blah. So I think that this is the first time ever getting a Pokemon card game, which I think is very interesting. Do I think it will do well? I don't know. I honestly don't know, because the Pokemon card, I've noticed the Pokemon card people are getting, I think, slowly not popular. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is taking over in that aspect. I think, I'm not saying it's died or anything, there's still tournaments people go to. And I think a lot of Pokemon has moved to digital anyway. Like, a lot of the Pokemon tournaments out there are on screen. Like, they're on-screen battle. Like, there's these massive tournaments up and down the country of the UK where you battle on the Switch, right? So using your online Pokemon, but you use strategies to beat them. So Pokemon itself is kind of going on the online direction. It's heading towards online gameplay. But I've seen the card game is kind of, I'm not saying it's not popular, it's definitely popular, but I can see it slowly getting unpopular as Yu-Gi-Oh! Takes over as the next big competitor of card games in that aspect. So I think this is a very smart move from the Pokemon company to actually put the famous card game onto online. I'm just gonna take a drink, hang on. Given how most of our Pokemon stuff is now going online, and it's all going online, it's all games, I think this is a very smart move, and I think it will do well. I think I might download it, because here's the thing, if you don't want to go and invest in packs and invest your money, I'm pretty sure this mobile game is free, and you can get like free packs a day, so you can play the game without cost, which is a very smart move, because that means that more people will download it, more revenue coming to them for free. So I was very interested by that release. Other updates, they updated things like Pokemon Cafe, other small updates, not anything that important, I don't think. But here's the thing. We were not expecting this. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. The new game has been announced. The next Pokemon game has been announced. The next spin-off game. The next Legends game, right? Our first Legends game of Pokemon was Pokemon Arceus, which was an absolute and utter chaos. It was rubbish. It was probably the most awful Pokemon game to ever exist, in my opinion. I hate the game. Arceus is bad, to the point where we actually hosted the Pokemon Arceus debate on this podcast, because me and Rowan, my co-host, feel so strongly about the game. It's just such a shit. It's rubbish. It's such a bad game, and everything about it. The storyline was dry. It was mid, and the storyline wasn't that bad in the grand scheme of things. But it was the most driest story. Like it was so boring. And then the graphics for Arceus were absolutely abhorrently bad. Like it was worse than Roblox. Like it was so bad. Like in the pools of water on the ground, you could count the sides. It was that bad. There was no smooth. Everything spawned in. I don't want to start ranting about it again, because we did host an update on this podcast. Go check out the Pokemon Arceus. Go and check it out. It's the Pokemon Arceus debate, and actually, no one won the debate. There was no winning answer. We just came to an agreement that we would agree to disagree. Like, no one won the debate. We just kind of said our sides clashed, and we're like, yes, this is what we think. and yeah, no one won the debate. Spoilers. No one won the debate. They didn't win. We didn't win. We both have very good opinions, I think. I don't know about their opinion. Their opinion was that it was okay, and I'm like, no, it wasn't worth it. So yeah, the first ever Legends game. It's a great idea. I really like the idea of going back into the lore where Pokemon started. But it was really badly executed in Arceus. Like, they really messed it up. It was just so horrible. So I'm hoping that this one will be better and they'll redeem themselves, that it's a better make and graphics actually catches up to their brain. So let's have a look and see what this news article has to say about Pokemon Legends Z-A. Past Pokemon games have typically required aspiring trainers to go out and explore the world, but the newly announced Pokemon Legends Z-A for Nintendo Switch systems could be a little different. In case you missed the initial announcement, this upcoming release will supposedly be set entirely within Lumos. I've always got it wrong, the spelling, but I'm going to try it. Lumos City, right? Lumos City. While we don't know the exact scale, it's going to be quite big. The same city we originally noticed first appeared in the 2013 release Pokemon X and Y. Although the city in the 3DS entries were already quite large, the teaser video for the video Z-A mentioned how Lumos would undergo an urban redevelopment. All this combined has already led to quite a bit of speculation on social media and elsewhere online about the size of the game and what kind of gameplay mechanics might be featured. If it is like other open world free roaming city games, nowadays it could end up being absolutely mega in scale. It would be impossible for the development team to implement different biomes either. It could even potentially feature completely different areas within the city or in the immediate Kalos region surroundings for players to access, and just imagine all the buildings we won't be able to enter. Well, let me just take another drink, then we'll talk about that. So, a very interesting announcement, and big announcement, don't get me wrong, is the next Legends game. It's taking place all in Lumos City. Now, Lumos City, this is a really good trip down memory lane here. Again, nostalgia. Lumos City was first ever featured in Pokemon Y, which is my favourite Pokemon game of all time, because it was the first one I played in the series. Then I played all the other ones. Rowan actually got me the game. It was his, and then he couldn't catch Jigglypuff. It was back in my secondary school days. I think it was either primary or secondary school, because I grew up with Rowan. And he came into the schoolyard, and I said, "Have you got any DS games you don't want anymore?" And he was like, "Yes, Pokemon Y." And he gave me it for free. And I was like, "Why are you giving this to me?" And he was like, "Oh, I couldn't catch Jigglypuff. I couldn't catch Jigglypuff." So, bless him. Rowan gave up the entire game just because he couldn't catch Jigglypuff. Bless him. I always found that funny. Like, imagine giving up an entire game just because you couldn't catch Pokemon. Let's all hope to God that Rowan catches the Jigglypuff in his next Pokemon game. Oh, God. But this is very big, and it's very big and very interesting, to say the least. They're including an old city that's very nostalgic for most of us, Lumos City. And Lumos City is a very interesting layout. Let's talk about the layout of the city. I'm pretty sure we all are aware, if you've played Pokemon Y, it's just it's like they've got a massive tower in the middle of the city, and then surrounding it are just blocks and rises and houses, right? So the city is surrounding one massive tower, and there's like streets going within to the actual tower. So there's streets and alleyways that go towards the tower, and then everything else is built around it, like surrounding a massive tower. Similar to the city of Leicester, actually. There's a city in the UK called Leicester, and it reminds me vaguely of Lumos City, because Leicester has a clock tower in the middle of their city, and it's a city in the north of the UK, north of London. It's not far from where I live, actually, within Leicestershire. And the city of Leicester has this massive, well, not massive, it has like a big clock tower. And then there's loads of streets going within towards the clock tower. So in some respects, Leicester is like a mini version of Lumos City, but Lumos is bigger. So yeah, Lumos City is a very interesting layout. And now, I only came to kind of learn of this recently. This game is not set anywhere else apart from the city. Now, that's very interesting. Like, this game's going to be very interesting because we've never actually had a Pokemon game that has done that before. Every single Pokemon game that's been released has always been within a world. You know, you could go to different regions of the current region that the game's set in. But no, this is a very interesting thing they've done. They've set the entire thing in one place, which can only mean for one thing. It's going to be limited. But will it be limited? There's so many questions I'm asking, because this is they're setting it all in just one place. And Lumos City in Pokemon Y isn't that big. But again, you couldn't really access it that much. Yeah, it was 2013 3DS game. You could go in some of the buildings. It's kind of miniatured down, I guess. Because this is Nintendo Switch, and because this is now 2025, that it's going to get released, it's modern date. Yeah, I don't know. They're going to have to make it really big. Like, that's the only thing I've got. They're going to have to make the city 10 times bigger than it is in the 3DS world, obviously. Otherwise, the game will be boring. Like, and I'm trying to think, would you get lost? If it literally is just in a massive city, and I'm interested to see what they make bigger, because Lumos City could be expanded on. To be fair, it's pretty small in the game Pokemon Y. Of course, it has to be, because it's one of the locations within Pokemon Y. But if you're making a game entirely based on one city, again, that probably is easy for the developers. They're like, but let's all just focus on one place. So probably more detail has been added. I'm guessing the map would have to be expanded, obviously, and that does bring a lot more opportunities within this game. Pokemon just based in one city, that would, number one, mean the city would have to be massive. So it'll be I think the game would just have a massive city, and yeah, the buildings, as I mentioned in this, it's going to be very interesting, to go into every single building. Will all the buildings be accessible? Because if they this is the thing, right? If they're spending all these years, about 3-4, it takes about 3 years, I think, since they last released the game to make this game. That would mean that, and again, as I've said before, they're basing it in one city, so maybe it's making it easier, and maybe it's a wiser decision, because the last few Pokemon games have been open world games, and they've not been the greatest. They've been pretty glitchy, pretty bad, and Arceus is an absolute shit show. But let's talk about Scarlet and Violet and Sword and Shield. They were okay, but it wasn't the best. It was still a bit glitchy, and every time they tried to patch the game, another issue would pop up. Right? They've always kind of not patched their games properly due to the size of the worlds. So I don't know, this is just me talking, I'm not a game developer, but it speaks to me. If they're doing it all in one location, like one city, maybe it gives them more time. It gives them more time just to work on one area, and they can then do that to the best of their ability. You know, maybe it's going to be a way better quality game. So I am very intrigued at what this is going to be like, because it's not out yet, and from what we know it's all in one city, and it's the first time Pokemon has done this. And you know, the amount of opportunities this is going to bring, like, it's going to be, you're going to get lost. You're going to have to get a map, because we've had big city games before, like, and I do like city games, to be fair, like Watch Dogs, which is actually like completely like London. They based it all off London. I think it's called Watch Dog or something. That's a really good game. It's all based in the city, and this is our first city-based Pokemon game. As for catching Pokemon, I'm very interested about how that's going to be like. But because it's based on lore, I don't know. It's very interesting because it's not a proper Pokemon game again. So it makes sense to me. It's not a proper Pokemon game. It's the next in this Legends series. It's the next one after Arceus. So it's going to be a lore-based game, and they better get it right. That's all I'm going to say, because Pokemon fans love their lore, love their Pokemon. And Lumos City is a very much loved city within the Pokemon franchise. And so let's just hope they get it right. Let's hope the game is good, and hope it's a good thing to do. And I don't think anyone's expecting it to be announced in this Pokemon Direct. I wasn't expecting it, but they've announced it. And I think the more time goes on, the more we'll hear, and the more we'll cover it here on the JR's Gaming Podcast. So stay tuned, guys, because we'll be giving you every single update as it comes out about this new game. But it's a really good... I like the idea. I honestly do like the idea. It's different, but I like different. I like it. It's interesting. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good opportunity for Pokemon. And I'm very interested to see what happens. But anyway, guys, we're now gonna take a quick ad break, and then I'll be back with the questions or comments of the week. Ad break time.
Sorry to interrupt the episode. I'm Rowan Fern, the co-host of this podcast. If you're a regular listener to our podcast, you would know that me and Judah love to hear from our community. Every single week, we read out your comments and questions on the podcast. One viewer wrote in telling us how they found their wife directly through the popular 3DS game, Pokémon X. Bloody hell, you don't hear that every day. You can become that viewer by writing into our podcast email, jrsgaming135@gmail.com. That is jrsgaming135@gmail.com. I know all of you hate ads, so on with the show.
And we're back from the ad break. This week on the questions, we've actually had a comment in from YouTube, and every now and again I like to dive into our YouTube comments and read out a few on the podcast, as well as the emails that we get sent by you guys. But I thought I would read out a comment this week we've had on one of our episodes on YouTube, and we've got a comment this week from JSYTA, and they say, this was on our Xbox episode, but we talk about Xbox going in a bad way because they are. But one of the people have commented saying, actually, Xbox is in a great position right now. I love the direction they are taking the industry as they continue to make a game an accessible medium. So I like this. I like discussion, because of course we have, I think this person is disagreeing with what we're saying on the podcast. Where we've actually said on the podcast many and numerous times that Xbox is going in the wrong direction, because they're putting all their games on PlayStation and Nintendo, and their money isn't doing too well, so they're obviously going in a bad direction. But I like, again, guys, that's what emails are for, that's what comments are for. We like to hear disagreements so we can discuss. So this person says, Xbox is in a great position, and I love the direction they're taking the industry as they continue to make gaming as an accessible medium. Now, here's where I disagree with you, viewer or listener. If you're listening to this is where I disagree with that comment. The reason I disagree is because I get. First of all, I'd like to say I understand the comment. I understand where it's coming from, because this is the thing. On the surface, Xbox looks like it's in a good position, and it does, because on the surface, Xbox becoming friends with PlayStation and Nintendo, it looks good on the surface. It's like, oh wow, they're making their games more accessible. They're getting Xbox recognised even more in the gaming industry by becoming friends with these two big competitors. So on the surface, that does look good. You know, the Xbox games are now available on PlayStation and Nintendo. It's going to bring more money to Xbox. That's what it looks like on the surface, and maybe for maybe the first 2 to 3 years. But the problem is, this is where I disagree with you, it's not a good position at all, because it's not going to keep that up. The more they keep that up by putting all their games into other companies' devices, it's not going to bring them the amount of money they need to keep the company open. And the whole reason why they started doing this is because they're struggling financially. So I recommend you go and look at what Xbox have said and put out a statement. Because Xbox actually put out a statement a couple of months ago saying they're struggling with the company. They're struggling with money. For some reason, I don't know why, because Xbox is a really popular gaming franchise, but they're struggling with money. They really are struggling. And they said they don't know what to do, and now they're putting all their games onto Nintendo, and they've even gone as low as to say they want to have Nintendo games on their Xbox, which is never going to happen, because that's just ludicrous. Nintendo would never do that. Nintendo would never ever have their games on another console. We'll never see that happen in the next million years. Yeah, I understand what this comment's saying that it's in a great position, but the reason I disagree is because it's not going to be good for long. Like, if they keep this up for the next few years, it's going to be very bad news. It's going to be Xbox shuts down, because the money will start. The very fact that money is not doing too well right now, and the fact that there's no longer an Xbox exclusive now because Xbox is putting all their games on other devices, it's just going to mean chaos for the company and eventual shutdown. I apologise for the hoover in the background. There's someone hoovering in my house, if you can hear it. But yes, that's my answer to you, viewer. But yeah, I think Xbox is not in a good position. But thank you for writing in and telling us what you think. Again, please do this, guys. If you want to be like this viewer and send in your question, you can do that by sending in your questions or comments to our YouTube channel or our email, jrsgaming135@gmail.com. That's it for this week, guys. I'm going to go now. This has been a very good, interesting episode with just me. Next week, don't worry, I'll be back here with Robin, so we'll continue you can hear his voice again, and it'll be good again, and less awkward, because it's just me. But anyway, until then, please subscribe or follow us on whatever platform you're listening from, and leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, as this will help us out greatly and get the podcast around. Our socials will be in the description below: our Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, website and Discord server. But until then, it's a goodbye from me.